starting off. So Colorado is allegedly in talks to join the Big 12 or to go back to the Big 12, right, Chris? I mean, what do you think about this?
I get it, and this is why USC, UCLA are moving out, right? What's really left in that conference other than Oregon and Washington? And that when I read this, and you got the article pulled up there, if you guys haven't seen it, go check it out. But let me get, you know what? I'm going to be real, Christian. I'm going to give you the backstory of Colorado. And I'm sure I'll piss off some Colorado people here with this statement, but I know it's true because I went with this. Back when Nebraska moved out of the Big 12, and I'm sure, Christian, you probably heard me say this off air to you. The Big 10 won in Nebraska for a lot of years. And this is when Nebraska was really relevant, early 2000s, obviously, probably going off the 90s years or whatever. They wanted us a lot. Colorado wanted to come with us, right? Because they were a big rival. We all know that. They said no to Colorado. They said, nah, get the fuck out of here. You guys don't have the established program, essentially what Nebraska does, and which they're right. Not to piss off Colorado people, but they don't. I'd love to debate anybody in the chat with that or online about that or in person. So Colorado got pissed, and they said, hey, we're joining the Pac-12. So they did it the next year. Well, the Pac-12 – the Pac-12 is Pac-12. It's always been USC over there for a lot of years, UCLA back in the 80s, 90s. Hasn't been relevant since they joined, Christian. Would you agree?
I would definitely agree with that statement.
Okay, thank you. So now I think that's bigger is better now in college football. And I think that they want to get out of the Pac-12. With UCLA and USC leaving, really nothing against Oregon. I'm a big Oregon component this year, but it's fuck, man. What are they? Really, what is there? There's just not enough relevancy in the Pac-12. And I've been saying this for years. USC was always going to leave. I knew that. USC is the predominant team. They're not just the predominant team in the Pac-12, they're a predominant team in college football, regardless, for the last how many decades. We know that. So it's I get where the money's at, and they got to go there, and that's why Nebraska left too, by the way. I didn't mention that. A lot of money in the Big 10. Look at the Big 12. Texas, Oklahoma are leaving. They're going to the SEC. We know where the money's at. Colorado's got to be sitting there thinking, fuck, man, even with Deion Sanders this year, and I'm not even going to touch on what we think about that today, but it's I just don't see them sitting around, and bigger is better in college football right now. And I think the Big 12 would be a step up, honestly. I truly think that going back to the Big 12 where they came from in the original Big 8, it's come on. I get it, man. I get why they don't want to be in the Pac-12. What are your thoughts, Christian? I guess I kind of want to hear this for a second, and what do you think about this, buddy?
And I think it's, look, you kind of touched on it, even with USC and UCLA leaving, leaving the Pac-12. This could make a ton of sense, right? They've actually made the jump from the Big 12 to the Pac-12 not that long ago. It was about 12, 13 years ago. Yeah. But, I think this would be great for Colorado to do it because I believe they're better built for the Big 12. And we've talked about that before, right? Where, we talked about the size of their defensive line, everything like that. And I think that it's just, now they've gotten bigger since then, but, as a lot of Colorado fans want to point out, a lot of the kids that jumped in the portal to go elsewhere, they were part of a one-win team. Jimmy Horn and some of these other kids that you brought off of, USF went 1-11 last year. You do realize that, right? So you're bringing in second, third string guys from other big conferences and superstar athletes, from very smaller schools that, probably had losing seasons to compete for major, compete at a major level and expecting that you're going to somehow win the Pac-12 this year. I think that is a little much, but where I ultimately am going to say this is that I think Deion, and we've talked about this before in some of our Colorado stuff, Deion's probably not going to be there in a couple years, dude. Just thinking about it, the feel of it, his past, he's probably not going to be at Colorado for more than 3 or 4 years. So when Deion inevitably leaves, right, do you want to be stuck in a conference that could potentially still have Washington, Oregon, and Utah and have to play them every year without Deion? That to me is that's a little tough, right? they're going to be better set up if they go to the Big 12 anyways, right? And the other side of it, Chris, the Big 12 is expanding, and right now the Pac 12 is shrinking. I'll say this: if Colorado leaves for the Big 12, this is going to be the end of the Pac 12. I mean, just like we talked about, thinking about Deion Sanders and the possibility of competing on a national stage and what they're potentially going to be a few years down the road, that would be a massive, massive loss for them. I'll kind of end it with this, and it's most likely not going to happen, but we kind of talked about them earlier. Now would be a fantastic time if Nebraska said, hey, we want to kind of jump over to the Big 12. It's not going to happen. I know it's not. But if they jumped in with Colorado, I think that would pretty much put them right in the driver's seat to be in a much better spot than where they're at right now.
No, I can't disagree with you on that. I get it. It's college football has now become a full-fledged business, right? I mean, I don't have to explain this to people that have been out in the workforce for a long time. It's like the NFL is a business. They make business decisions. College football has definitely become that too, as far as the conference realignment goes and all this bullshit. Christian, you've heard me say it several fucking times. College football and ultimately wants to end up with an East and a West. You know what I mean? That's all. I think it's like two big fucking divisions ultimately for the power teams, and I think that's what they want. I think that's actually what they're going to get, and I don't see that really fucking changing, dude. And I think this is just a small step with them being in, really, really big talks with the Big 12 is try to kind of get themselves aligned for what's going to happen in the future. If you're a business team, or a businessman or a business fucking company or anything, you're always looking ahead. I work for General Electric. They're a monster company. They're always looking for the future, like multiple steps ahead, right? Whether it's the right decision or the wrong decision, it is what it is. But that's where I see this kind of going with college football and getting out of the Pac-12, man. I don't think the money's there. I don't. I think they got a couple teams that make a lot of the money, USC being fucking one of them. Other than Oregon, I mean, nothing against Washington, but they don't generate a ton of money like the rest of the schools do, especially in the SEC, especially in the Big Ten, Michigan, Ohio State. Even Nebraska has a fucking brand because of volleyball and everything else. It's becoming down to money, and Colorado is a team that doesn't have a lot of money. Love to fucking debate people on that, but you guys don't. Great state, pretty state, but like they don't have a ton of success behind anything there. And Deion Sanders was the guy that just now all of a sudden you guys are fucking blowing up on YouTube and Facebook and social media. I know, Christian, you're looking at your right monitor there thinking like, what the hell is this guy talking about? But no, I mean, think about it though. It's coming down to money. And I just don't think they stand a chance over there. Like you said, if Colorado does leave the Big 12 with Deion, man, the Pac-12, like what are you really paying attention over to in that conference other than Oregon and maybe Washington?
Yeah, Chris, you said something and it just reminded me of this. You know what this reminds me of, dude? It reminds me of Dogecoin, right? It's all this hype going into this thing, and then it blows up, right? Goes to 70 cents, and then just as quick as it goes up, it comes right back down and hasn't sniffed anywhere close to that ever since. And I've got a feeling that could be what happens with Colorado and the whole Deion experiment. I think he's going to build them up, and then he's going to leave, right? And I think this is a good decision for them. Because going back to the Big 12 with Texas and Oklahoma jumping ship, you bring in UCF, Houston, BYU, some of those schools, Cincinnati. I mean, that could be pretty favorable for Colorado to capitalize on some of their short-term success to kind of keep them competitive.
Right. But none of those teams are really marquee level, like, you know what I mean? Nothing against those teams. I'm not hating on them. Let's just talk about this as an outlier. Like, fuck, look here. I mean, this isn't like nothing different. BYU's out west. I mean, some of these schools like BYU, I mean, is a team that like, well, that doesn't really scare me if I'm in the Big 12. You know what I mean? Like, oh, okay. Central Florida. Yeah, they got a lot of relevancy down in their conference, but come over here. It's a little bit different ball game, right? Power 5 is a whole different fucking game, man. It is, and it always will be. And that's where like I said at the earlier, is like they want to get in this East versus West thing, dude. And the NCAA is going to do what they got to do. And I truly think it'll end up being there, whether it's fucking 3 years from now or whether it's 10 years from now. It's going to be an East versus West thing, and that's just what I think truly is going to end up. And it's all about money right now. It's, shifting the culture between all sorts of teams. And ultimately, at the end of the day, Colorado needs money, Christian. We all know it. It's very, very, very obvious, man. You guys, if you guys don't pay attention to the college landscape right now, Colorado's the hottest topic on the fucking thing. I mean, they are every fucking week. And this is dead season, but it's all about Colorado. How many people transfer? How many people fucking Dion's brought in? It's Dion buying a new fucking souped up 650 fucking Ford, fucking like looks like a goddamn tank out there that he's driving. It's all about, I get it. It's money, it's revenue, it's views, it's all that. I understand that shit, but it's like, come on, man. Colorado's not going to be around much longer, I don't think, in the Pac-12, and especially, or like you said, Christian, once he leaves, because he's not staying there. he's not retiring from fucking Colorado. It's going to go from here to here real quickly.